A new president has been inaugurated and the time has come. It's time for America's leader to meet the Beast. But this isn't a secret cryptid lurking in the White House basement. No, it's the sweetest ride on four wheels. Here's everything you need to know about the presidential car nicknamed the Beast. Number 20. The president used to ride in what? There didn't always used to be a presidential car. In the early days of the United States, presidents rode around in horse-drawn carriages like any other important person. William McKinley was the first president to ride in a car, and William Howard Taft really liked them and bought a 4-car fleet. Presidents continued to ride in open-air cars with drivers until John F. Kennedy's shocking assassination while riding in his Lincoln Continental convertible. Turns out that having presidents riding around in standard vehicles could be a massive security risk. It was time for a car worthy of the president. Number 19. There's more than one beast out there. The assassination of the president led to massive changes for successor Lyndon Johnson's 1967 Lincoln Continental. While presidential cars had existed since Franklin Delano Roosevelt's administration, this was the first to be significantly upgraded with over 4,000 pounds of armor. Multiple cars would follow over the next few decades, each one more loaded than the last. The 1972 model added bulletproof glass and gun racks for the Secret Service. Cadillac Fleetwoods and Lincoln Town cars would follow, but by 2001, Cadillac was no longer providing suitable cars. So the government commissioned custom Cadillacs from the company, with 2 models serving between 2001 and 2018. Sounds like an old presidential car would make a great collector's item, right? Number 18. The car you'll never ride in. All cars reach the end of their life even with standard use, as anyone who's tried fruitlessly to start their old beater knows. This includes custom presidential cars, and eventually all of these have gone to the car graveyard. But it's not off to the junkyard for these cars. They're decommissioned, dismantled, and destroyed by the Secret Service after a full examination for any weak points. They use gunfire and explosive rounds to test the vehicle's durability and learn all they can to build the next one better and tougher. And that brings us to the Beast. Number 17. The current model. Building a presidential car isn't an easy job, and work on the model that arrived in 2018 started in 2014, a whole president ago. General Motors was given the contract to build a new custom Cadillac with a whopping payment of over $15 million to design a dozen vehicles. It was designed behind closed doors, and when it was time to take it out for test drives, it was wrapped in multi-scale camouflage to keep any nefarious agents from getting too close a look at the president's new ride. And on September 24, 2018, it made its debut in New York City. And when it comes to special features, this car is loaded. Number 16. How does this thing open? Opening your car can be tricky at the best of times, especially if you're running on a few hours sleep to get that early morning meeting. But it's much trickier to open the Beast because something's missing: keyholes. A look at the vehicle will give you no clear way to open it, just some handles that don't open if a random person pulls at them. So how does it open? Well, the only people who actually know are the Secret Service, who escort the president in and out of the car, and we're pretty sure they're not telling you how to get in. And no access points are easy with this car. Number 15. Now that's what I call thick. The most vulnerable place on many cars are the windows, with a piece of debris or a stray deer easily causing damage that range from a nasty crack to a dangerous shower of glass. But not the Beast, with its thick windows of bulletproof glass. How thick? They're about 5 inches thick, almost as thick as a dollar bill is long. While most bulletproof glass windows are designed to resist standard arms fire, the Beast is designed to endure a full-on military assault that could come from enemies of the United States. And a little overkill is worth the price. But in case something goes wrong, the Beast comes prepared. Number 14. Safety first. What if something does go wrong? The odds are good that the president isn't going to be injured while inside the Beast. But what if they're wounded in an assassination attempt and ushered to the car? The few minutes to get to the hospital can mean life or death, which is why the Beast doubles as a mobile ambulance. 2 pints of blood of the same type as the president are stored in the car, along with an oxygen tank, and the Secret Service is trained to use both in the event that it's needed to save the president's life. Talk about a high-pressure day at the office. But they're not the only experts on hand if needed. Number 13. Mr. Fix-It. What's the worst nightmare for every important trip behind the wheel? A sudden breakdown. Even more so when you might be heading to an important diplomatic summit. But if the president's ride springs a leak, no need to worry. The Beast is never far away from its own personal mechanic. Because the Beast is a specially designed car, this isn't Mel from Mel's Garage and Burgers. This is a federal agent with specialized equipment on hand at all times, just in case he needs to get the car running in a hurry. and he's one of the few people who knows the car inside and out. But that seems like the Beast could get pretty cramped. Number 12. Never alone. If the president likes his personal space, no worries. His entire security entourage, plus a mechanic, don't have to fit in the Beast. While the president will always have some people with him, there's a reason you'll never see the Beast alone. The president travels in a motorcade of 40 to 50 vehicles, several of which are armored and others filled with Secret Service agents in a counter-assault team should they fall under attack. While this is a large group of cars, there are plans for the Beast to split off from the rest of the group if needed. And the Beast is never without some specialized defenses. Number 11. Lights out. There is one vehicle that's always near the Beast, and it might look like a standard Chevrolet Suburban, but it's anything but. This car drives in front of the presidential car and features electronic countermeasures designed to fend off any guided attacks. Say some terrorists got into position and fired a missile at the motorcade. Two antennas on the roof of the Suburban send out a signal that jam anything entering the area of the motorcade, rendering the guiding system blind and making it harder to hit the target. So the Beast's defenses aren't just physical, some are invisible. But what if everything goes sideways? Number 10. Panic. If the Beast is breached or the motorcade has been taken out and the president is under immediate threat, there's one last thing to do. The presidential car has a panic button in it, and when it's hit, well, that's anyone's guess. It's never been pressed, and no one is sure what would happen when it actually is. Maybe it deploys some unknown defenses, or maybe it sends out a signal to allow local law enforcement to converge on the location. But most people, including the president, are probably hoping we never have to find out. But it's not invincible. Number 9. Whoops. It was the previous model, but in 2011, the car called the Beast had an embarrassing breakdown. It was on a state trip to Israel for President Barack Obama, and suddenly, the car just stopped working. It stalled out on the highway on the way to the airport, and the president had to settle for a different car while a tow truck was called to pull the Beast off the highway. The culprit? Not a nefarious plot or sabotage, but the very valuable car had been filled with the wrong type of gas, falling prey to a common malfunction. So what does the Beast eat for fuel anyway? Number 8. The fuel of kings. While the official specs of the Beast are closely guarded, most experts believe it runs on a Duramax diesel engine, similar to ones General Motors uses in its heavy-duty pickup trucks. So why diesel? Diesel engines are believed to be more durable than the competition, and truckers swear by them. The fuel is also less volatile, which keeps the president safer in the event of a crash or explosion. And while there are many types of fuel available around the world, diesel is readily available, and that's helpful when you're a world traveler. But as strong as it is, it's not right for every situation. Number 7. Spreading out. What happens when the president needs a little more space? Maybe he's conducting tense negotiations on the go, or the Beast is in for repairs. That's where Ground Force One comes in. If you've ever seen some massive black buses speeding down the highway followed by a fleet of armored cars, you might be seeing the president's personal backup transportation. First introduced in 2011 to replace the Secret Service's usual rented buses, these massive vehicles feature many of the trappings of the Beast, flashing lights on the front and back, and cost over $1 million each. But don't expect the Beast to go out of service too often. Number 6. Protected everywhere. What's the most vulnerable point on every car? Easy answer, the tires. All it takes is a nail in the tire and suddenly your entire day is derailed. But that's a lot less important than what happens when the president's car tires get taken out. Maybe by nefarious agents hoping to strand him and leave him a sitting duck. That's why the Beast's tires are coated in Kevlar, giving them an extra boost of endurance and preventing them from going flat in case something causes damage. How much punishment can these tires take? Let's hope we never find out. But it's not the only place that has some extra protection. Number 5. Explosion-proof. The tires may be the most vulnerable part of the car, but the most dangerous part for a breach is the engine, where a devastating explosion could start. But that's not a concern for the Beast, thanks to the engine being lined with a special foam that will smother any fire if the fuel ignites from a malfunction or attack. But this isn't a new invention of the Secret Service's. They got the idea from one of the places where car explosions are the biggest threat, NASCAR. Thanks, race car drivers, the government salutes you. But what could the Beast do if it actually found itself in trouble? Number 4. Built for speed. Surprisingly, the Beast is not a speed machine. This is not a vehicle designed to duplicate NASCAR speeds, no matter how tense the situation. It probably doesn't help that it's more than twice the weight of a standard vehicle, but that doesn't mean it's not fast. The car is designed to go over 100 miles an hour at top speed, similar to much lighter cars and more than enough for most chases or emergencies. But its best asset might be its durability. Even with 4 flat tires, it's still designed to maintain a 50 miles per hour pace. But what is it actually like to ride in the Beast? Number 3. Surprisingly spacious. The Beast is loaded with gear, so you might think it gets pretty cramped in the back. But while it looks like a sedan, the interior is actually more like an SUV. The vehicle can hold 7 people in total comfortably, 2 up front and 5 in the back. That means the president can usually bring 4 people into the car with him, enough for a policy discussion or an on-the-go diplomatic summit. Of course, some of those extra seats are usually taken up by Secret Service agents, but there's room for guests, including once Jerry Seinfeld, who hosted an episode of his web series from the car. But who sits up front is a lot more set in stone. Number 2. The man in the passenger seat. The president is safely in the back, but the driver's compartment fits 2 people and the passenger seat is always reserved for the White House Chief Security Officer. The official rarely leaves the president's side, and that continues in the Beast. Not only is the Chief Security Officer close to his charge, but his front seat position in the Beast means he sees exactly what's coming up ahead and can give the president a few seconds extra warning in case he needs to take shelter. Which raises one question: who the heck gets to drive the thing? Number 1. The man in the driver's seat. Is there any position that requires more trust than the driver of the president's car? You're being put in charge of one of the most expensive pieces of equipment owned by the executive branch, not to mention the president's safety. It's not a surprise that the only people allowed to drive are Secret Service members, usually ones with military background. And then it's on to driver school. But this one isn't going to teach you to parallel park. A prospective driver will learn how to pull off tricky evasive driving techniques, including the notorious J-turn, where a car makes a 180-degree turn and shifts from reverse to drive, all without stopping. The driver of the Beast is just like the car, the best of the best. For more on presidential security, check out the insane protection of the President of the United States, or watch this video instead.